And the 2017 Soccer Cleat of the Year award goes to the Joma Champion Max. What's going on here? What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you the top 5 worst soccer cleats of 2017. Before we get into the picks, I want to make a couple of things clear, because whenever I drop any kind of heavy criticism on this channel, there tends to be some really flustered and angry people for the wrong reason. So if you see any of those people in the comment section of this video, leave them a timestamp to this part and everything will be explained to them. So the title of this video is Top 5 Worst Soccer Cleats of 2017. People are going to click on that. They'll click on the video, and instead of listening to everything I have to say, the reasoning for all the picks, they'll simply skim through, see what the picks are, and find at least one that they disagree with. And they'll do basically 3 different things in the comment section. 1, they'll say that I don't know what I'm talking about, which I tend to think that I do know what I'm talking about. I've got a lot of experience with a lot of this stuff. 2, they'll call me an idiot. I'd like to think that I'm not an idiot. And 3, they'll say this, which I've never ever said on this channel, not even once. They'll say it's the player, not the boots. And I 100% agree with that, which is why I've never said that in any of my videos. So I want this to be very clear. Even though I think these are the worst soccer cleats of 2017, by no means do I think that any of these shoes are unwearable or are going to be detrimental to your ability to perform and play the game. If you have any of these shoes and you like them, hey, that's great. But coming from somebody with the perspective who has literally tried pretty much every single soccer cleat to come out in 2017, I can genuinely tell you that based on my own personal experience, some are better and some are worse. And these 5, in my opinion, based on what I've tried, I don't think are all that great. And I'm gonna tell you why that is in this video. Criteria for these picks is that the shoes had to be a current model in 2017. They could be high end or low end. They're in no particular order. I'm not an idiot. I just want to make that 100% clear. And also, if you guys do enjoy the top 5 series on my channel and want to continue seeing it happen, don't forget to support this one with a like. Pick number 1 should be a surprise to nobody. It is the Joma Champion Max, which is a perfect example of when copying goes way too far. If you're familiar with the channel, you've probably seen my review and you've probably seen the countless joking references that I've made over basically the last couple of months. If you don't know what this is, you probably recognize the design, because basically Joma just straight up ripped off the Superfly 5. And then if you take a look at the heel counter, sole plate, and stud pattern, you might recognize that as well, because that's taken directly from the current sprint frame construction of the X17.1 and X17 Plus. Adidas has been using this construction for a little while now. So they've kind of ripped off 2 shoes in one, with obviously the more noticeable shoe being the Superfly 5. And as far as what you're getting for your money, the retail price on this is $150 versus $300 for the real Superfly, but that's just it. Why is Joma knocking off the most popular shoes on the market from some of the biggest brands around? They're a well-established companies. They're perfectly capable of making their own high-quality shoe, but they've instead decided to just copy Nike entirely, and they've done a pretty poor job at it. The knitted upper is laughable in comparison to the real Superfly. They did the speed rib texturing. It doesn't have fly wire cables. The overall fit and shape of the shoe is nowhere near as good as what you'd find from a Superfly. It has the mid-cut collar. It has pretty much a lot of little design elements that are made to look like the Superfly, but honestly don't perform anywhere near as well. Not to mention it's nowhere as light either. So in terms of what you're getting for your money, is it a terrible shoe? No. Is it wearable? Yes. But for comparison's sake, if you wanted to compare it to something similar in price from Nike, like a Mercurial Veloce 3DF, which is the first takedown model in the Mercurial lineup, that's a much better shoe in terms of fit, feel, and overall performance. So really, is there a good reason to buy this shoe? In my opinion, no. Number 2 is the New Balance Bizarro 2.0 Pro, which was the replacement to what I thought was a very good shoe in the form of the original New Balance Bizarro. And what they've done is essentially changed everything to the point where the shoe just isn't very good. They went for some pretty interesting design elements that are unique to the Bizarro 2, so they definitely didn't try to copy anybody here, unlike the previous pick, but what they did just didn't work out. The upper on this shoe is very plasticky and has just a very rigid sensation in general. And because of how plasticky it is, it has a very predetermined shape. So when you put these on, even after some break-in time, they never really change from their original shape. So unless your foot is exactly the same shape as this shoe, which is very kind of unusual in terms of its high volume fit and just general shape, it's not going to fit you very well. And then once the upper does flex, because it is so plasticky and firm, you kind of feel it bending against your foot, which isn't particularly comfortable. The lockdown in the heel is unusual because of the design that they went with. Looks really cool, not the most effective thing in the world. And then the idea to include a midsole as well as a sole plate for extra underfoot cushioning sounds like a great idea, but the end result is something that is very bulky, a super stiff construction with the sole plate, and really doesn't provide any more extra cushioning that you wouldn't get from just a regular sole plate insole construction. So why all that extra bulk is there for no real difference in terms of overall comfort and underfoot cushioning, I'm not really sure. So the reasons why you would buy something like the New Balance Bizarro 2.0, I don't really know what those are. In comparison to pretty much any other top-end model out there right now, I just don't think these are very good at all. Pick number 3 is the fit issues pretty much across the board with Adidas takedown models. And I have the Adidas X 17.3 here as an example, which out of all the takedown models from the Adidas brand right now, I would say these are probably my least favorite in terms of the fit as well as the overall quality. But it's not really a quality issue across the board for Adidas takedown models. If anything, the quality of their takedowns has actually gotten a lot better over the last 2 years or so. We're seeing some of the best quality takedowns from the Adidas brand in 2017, but the fit of these shoes, specifically in the heel area where it's just extremely shallow, coupled with generally, not all of them have this, an awkwardly stiff sole plate, you end up with a fit and general experience that just isn't as good as what you can get from other takedown models in the same price range. If you're comparing Nike takedown models and Adidas takedown models at the same price points, the Nike ones not only fit better, they tend to be a little bit better quality as well. They're just a much better value in general. And again, that's not to say that these Adidas takedown models are unwearable. If you have one of them, because obviously they are very popular and you like them, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But next time you go to buy an Adidas takedown model, please do me a favor and go try on some equivalent takedowns at the same price point from other brands as well, because I think you'll be able to tell the difference in terms of the quality of fit and sometimes even the quality of the material. So again, I don't think that they're absolutely horrendous, but considering that you have better options at the same price point, I don't really see much of a reason to buy them. Pick number 4 is a shoe that I was really excited about, but ended up being pretty disappointed once I actually had the opportunity to not just try them, but just hold them in my hands. And of course, I'm talking about the Diadora BlueShield. This is Diadora's attempt at making a modern soccer cleat for really the first time in a couple years. We haven't seen too much new as far as products are concerned out of the Diadora brand, meaning that the majority of the shoes that they've had on offer are part of their kind of classic lineup, which is just straight up kangaroo leather uppers that generally tend to be very good. With the Diadora BlueShield, believe it or not, this is somehow a kangaroo leather. So they took a material that I'm sure was excellent quality when they started, because Diadora has some of the best leather boots on the market, and they managed to make that material feel extremely plasticky, bulky, fairly rigid, and just have a really subpar touch for a top-end soccer cleat. You partner that with a really weird and super unnecessarily bulky design with the lacing system, the super long laces, which are kind of a signature of Diadora, so you can't really knock them for that, a bulky construction to the sole plate, this interesting cushioning system that they call BlueShield that is basically just a gel insole, and you end up with the Diadora BlueShield, one of those shoes that I'm not sure why anybody would buy. Not to mention, it's certainly nobody's favorite from a visual standpoint, which is important in 2017, even though that has nothing to do with the performance of the shoe. So a shoe I was really excited for, but should you go out and buy the Diadora BlueShield? Probably not. And finally, pick number 5 goes to Nike MidCut takedown models, specifically the second takedown models where the MidCut versions of these shoes would fall into the $100 price point, where the low-cut ones would only cost you about $80. I have as an example right here a Nike Mercurial Victory 60F that of course has seen better days. But that is not the point. The reason why I don't think that these are very good and one of the worst options in 2017 is simply because Nike has basically created a market for these mid-cut shoes. They were pretty much the first to do it with the introduction of the Superfly 4 and the Obra 1 back in 2014. And since then, pretty much every single brand has followed with introducing different types of mid-cut soccer cleats. Not to say that they've all copied, but Nike has definitely started a trend here. And because of that trend, usually only being exclusive to those top-end models, they've decided, hey, we can actually charge more money at the lower price points if we simply add a collar. So what have they done? Exactly that. And the reason why I don't like it is because at these lower price points, you actually end up with a worse quality product than what you would get in the low cut variations. Now, obviously, if you go with the first takedown models in the line, like the Hypervenom Fatal 3, the Mercurial Veloce 3DF, the Nike Ordon 2, but you do have the option of a low cut version in the form of the Veloce 3, keep that in mind. Those retail for $175. I don't think those are worth it at that price point, but I definitely don't think they're bad in terms of overall fit or quality. In the case of these lower end kind of second tier takedown models, they've basically literally add a sock-like material. It's not knitted, it's not Flyknit, it's basically the material of a sock attached to what would otherwise be a low-cut shoe that actually does hurt the fit in the heel area, making it more shallow and just much more uncomfortable in general. And they charge you an extra $20 for it. So it's not to say that, again, these are unwearable versus the low-cut versions of the shoe, but why spend the extra money on a shoe that just quite simply is not as good? If you want the mid-cut and you can afford the extra money, I guess go ahead and buy it. But in my opinion, having tried both the lows and mid-cut variation of these second-tier takedown models, I just don't think that the mid-cut ones are very good or worth it at all. Not an honorable mention, but I know I have to talk about it because a lot of you guys will ask, probably being a little bit surprised that it didn't make this top 5 list of worst boots of 2017. Of course, I'm talking about the Under Armour Spotlight 2.0, commonly known on this channel as the zipper boot. I've made fun of it a lot ever since it came out, and I didn't give it the best review in the world, but in all honesty, this is nowhere near one of the top 5 worst of 2017. It's actually not that bad of a boot in general. It just has a goofy design with a dumb zipper that, I will say, it is quite a durable zipper. I'm actually surprised that it hasn't broken as of yet. So I'll give them that. And another reason why this doesn't make the top 5 worst of 2017 is not only because I don't think it's actually a bad boot, but it actually does improve upon the original Spotlight, which I legitimately did not think was very good at all. It was borderline unwearable. This is definitely wearable. Would it be one of my top 10 or even top 15 picks? No, not at all. But it certainly is not a top 5 worst cleat of 2017. Anyways, guys, that is it for my picks for the top 5 worst soccer cleats of 2017. As always, when I make these top 5 videos, feel free to share your opinions down below in the comment section. Do you agree with my list? Are there shoes you would add? Are there shoes you would take away? Why or why not? Always curious to hear your opinions based on what you've tried, of course. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to support it with a like. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask those down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching.